So this is the chapter number 7, rivers. In your book, you people can see that it's written about the rivers and its systems. What is this basically? What is the system of river, and how it works, and how basically this starts from, right? So can anybody read this particular paragraph from the book, because I have written the same thing in the slides.
Planet,
Sure, Rida.
the river and its system. A river is a body of moving water flows in a natural channel on the land. A river flows from highlands such as mountain to a lowland such as plain. The river's flow is influenced by the natural force of the earth's gravity. Where a river begins is called the source.
Okay,
Usually water flows.
wait. You need to read from your book, Rida. Take it, not from the slide. I have written a short form in the slide. Give me a second. Okay, so basically they are talking about the river and its system. So definitely it's a moving, it's or is a body of moving water flows in a natural channel or in a on the land basically, and starts from the highland such as mountains to a lowland such as plains. The river flows influenced by the natural force of gravity. Basically they are talking about when river starts normally, whether it can be flow onto the surface of the earth in a on a plane, और it starts from the highland such as mountains. आपने देखे होंगे waterfalls के थ्रू आपने rivers देखा होगा, एक normally plain land पर आपने जो है वो river देखा होगा. They are talking about that. And what is the river system? Yes, Rida, continue with the book point.
A river system is made up of these components: source, stream, tribute, mouth, and tributaries. A river source is the place where the river begins its flow. At the source, usually in the highlands, water begins to flow as a stream. As it flows further down, other streams may join the mainstream. The volume of water in the mainstream gradually increases as water from other streams are added to it, which is now a river. The smaller streams that join the main river are known as tributaries. The river ends when it flows into the sea at the river mouth. At the river mouth, some rivers may break up to flow out into the sea as smaller channels called distributaries.
Okay, stop. Okay, so what they're talking about, river system is made up of these components, and components are giving over here. Basically, when the river starts, whether it starts from the mountain or from the lowlands, that particular point is called source. Okay. The next one is usually water flows begin from highlands as a stream. When it you can say when it start flowing with a narrow area, so we call that streams. When small river meeting a large river, हमें नहीं पता कितने rivers एक दूसरे के साथ combine होकर tributary बनाते हैं. ठीक है, बहुत सारे rivers के आपने नाम. Where the river flows into the sea is called the mouth, and definitely people can see in figure 7.1 that is given in your book. आपकी बुक में एक फिगर दी हुई है 7.1. People can see what is the tributary, where the river is moving, what is the mouth. Definitely mouth is the area जहाँ पर river से वो combine कर रहा होता है आपको या उस particular river को, is called the mouth. When rivers may break up to flow out into the sea as small channels or smaller channels, we call that distributaries. ठीक है. And that when river is divided or it's combined from that particular point जहाँ से वो break हो रहा है और वो combine हो रहा है एक normal sea water से, so we call that the distributary. ठीक है. Now if we call that, or if we say that what is the river system and why do we call that enclosed? A river is an enclosed within a drainage system or drainage basin is the area of land drained by a river and its tributaries. The boundary of the drainage basin is the watershed. The watershed or divide is usually the ridges or highest places of a highland, example mountain range. The watershed also forms a boundary separating one river system and its drainage basin from another river system. We don't know कि कितने river systems हैं, but that all these components they are coming under the drainage basin, and the boundary of drainage basin we call that watershed. ठीक है, and this is the watershed basically divides the river system from one another. You people can see a river from source to mouth. This is the image that I have pasted how this river basically start, क्या source का point है, क्या tributaries हैं, because we all know that कि हम बोलते हैं ना कि पानी अपना रास्ता खुद बनाता है. So this is the reason water flows depend करता है प्रेशर, जितना भी आपके पास वाटर का प्रेशर होता है उस पर डिपेंड करता है. समटाइम आप रेन वाटर प्रेसिपिटेशन वाटर इसमें मिक्स हो जाता है, डेफिनेटली इट चेंज इनटू द फ्लड्स एज वेल. ठीक है, जब फ्लड्स में चेंज हो जाता है तो प्रेशर बढ़ता है, प्रेशर बढ़ता है, डेफिनेटली इट मेक्स इट्स देयर ओन वे टू ट्रेवल फ्रॉम वन प्लेस टू अनदर. Tributaries, floodplain, marsh, river mouth, waves forming a beach. So basically, it's all about a river source from source to mouth. Any confusion up to now? Hanji. Uh, I was muted for a long time. So now you will can see the hydrologic cycle. Can anybody tell me what is the hydrologic cycle and what does that mean? ये बता सकता है?
Miss, it receives input in from the form of rain, snow,
Mm-hmm. True.
surface runoff, or through flow.
ठीक है, लेकिन हम there is another word of hydrologic cycle. So what is that?
Miss like the whole
Water
the
cycle.
river system, the whole system is called the hydrologic cycle. It is a large system consisting of the river system.
River system is something else, but hydrologic cycle, that is the water cycle. River is also the part of the water cycle. We can say this thing. Okay. Okay. So let's discuss it. What is this? Can anybody read this line?
May I, Miss?
So
The hydrologic cycle. A river system is an open system. It receives inputs in the form of rain, snow, surface runoff, or through flow. The output of a river system goes into the sea and the atmosphere. A river system is a part of a larger system called the hydrologic cycle or the water cycle.
exactly. So now we are talking about that is a river system is an open system. Okay, definitely we can see that river it fills with the rainwater, with the snow or the surface runoff or through flow. What normally generally what happens, आप सबने ग्लेशियर्स मेल्ट होते हुए देखे होंगे. ठीक है, जब ग्लेशियर्स मेल्ट होते हैं तो उनका पानी कहाँ जाता है? ठीक है, रिवर्स में आता है. एंड इफ रिवर्स इट हैज देयर आर नो रिजर्वायर्स टू सेव दैट वाटर, सो डेफिनेटली वो रिवर में जाता है. रिवर में जाने के बाद अगर वहाँ पर वो सेव नहीं हो पाता बिकॉज ऑफ द फास्ट फ्लो ऑफ वाटर, सो बेसिकली इट चेंजेस इनटू द फ्लड. एंड स्पेशली द नियर बाय एरियाज ऑफ पर्टिकुलर रिवर एरिया, तो वो ज़्यादा इफेक्टिव होते हैं, वो ज़्यादा इफेक्ट हो रहे होते हैं इस चीज़ से. तो ठीक है, सो बेसिकली इट्स अ ओपन सिस्टम ऑफ रिवर, बट इफ यू टॉक अबाउट द वाटर साइकिल्स, दैट इज द क्लोज सिस्टम. हम सिंपल अगर वाटर साइकिल की बात करेंगे, हाइड्रोलॉजिक साइकिल की बात करेंगे, दैट इज अ क्लोज सिस्टम. और वी कैन से इट्स द होल मूवमेंट ऑफ हाइड्रोलॉजिक साइकिल involved with the four processes. ठीक है, in your book you people can see what are the four processes. So can anybody tell me the name?
Precipitation, transpiration, evaporation, condensation.
Exactly. Now you people can see precipitation, or you can say the collection, transpiration, evaporation, and condensation. I have add one more point, that is the collection. Collection basically it starts from you can say collection, the droplets of collection into the sea or into the river. Okay. Okay, now so basically if we read that hydrologic cycle begins with which part basically?
Precipitation.
Father, can you please read this part?
Miss I.
Mm-hmm.
The hydrologic cycle begins with precipitation. This is a process where water droplets from the clouds fall down to earth as either as rain or snow. The rain that falls to the ground flows along the ground as surface runoff into streams and rivers. When water reaches the Earth's surface, evaporation occurs. This is a process where heat from the sun heats up the water in the river or the sea, causing water molecules to rise into the atmosphere as water vapor. Where there are plants, the roots of the plants will absorb the water in the ground and transfer the water to the leaves, which in turn release the water as water vapor into the atmosphere in a process known as transpiration.
Stop.
Through the
Stop. Okay, now, so they are talking about this process starts or begins with the precipitation. It means when the rainfall starts or the precipitation ratio starts, okay? And the waterfall comes down onto the earth surface in the form of rain, in the form of snow, or in the form of hails, right? The rain that falls to the ground flows along the ground surface, run off into the streams, river, एंड व्हेन वाटर रीचेस द अर्थ सरफेस, आपने देखा होगा कि नॉर्मली जब बारिश होती है एकदम से जो लैंड है या सरफेस है वो ड्राई हो जाता है. क्यों हो जाता है? बिकॉज ऑफ द इवेपोरेशन प्रोसेस, बिकॉज ऑफ द हीट प्रोसेस. व्हेन सनलाइट्स कम ऑन टू द अर्थ सरफेस, इट मेक्स द लैंड ड्राई, राइट? सो दिस इज द रीजन. एंड जो ड्रॉपलेट्स जमीन पर पड़ते हैं वो इवेपोरेट होना शुरू हो जाते हैं अगेन, ठीक है, इन द फॉर्म ऑफ अगेन ड्रॉपलेट्स ऑन टू द or you can say towards the cloud basically. So this is the process where heat from the sun heats up the water into the river or the sea, causing water molecules to rise into the atmosphere. जब इवेपोरेशन होती है जो वाटर मॉलिक्यूल्स हैं वो एटमॉस्फेयर में फैल जाते हैं या इवेपोरेट हो जाते हैं. Okay, there are plants, the roots of the plants will absorb water in the ground and transfer the water to the leaves. This is the process we call transpiration. का process क्या होता है जो normally plants के through हो रहा होता है. When plants absorb water through their roots, so that water travels into the stem and it goes into the leaves, right? Leaves में कुछ holes बने हुए होते हैं जिनको हम stomata बोलते हैं, ठीक है. उन स्टोमेटा के थ्रू वो पानी जो है वो रिलीज होना शुरू होता है, वो वाटर ड्रॉपलेट्स रिलीज होते हैं इनटू द एटमॉस्फेयर, ठीक है. So this when they start releasing all the water droplets from the leaf into the atmosphere, so we call that process evapotranspiration, ठीक है. वी विल डिस्कस व्हाट इज दैट एक्चुअली. बट ट्रांसपायरेशन प्रोसेस क्या होता है? जब पानी एब्जॉर्ब होता है रूट्स के अंदर प्लांट्स की और वो ट्रैवल होता है स्टेम्स के थ्रू लीव्स में और वहां से एवेपोरेट होना शुरू हो जाता है. दिस इज वन ऑफ द वे. Okay, so we call that the transpiration. Through the processes of evaporation and transpiration, water is returned to the atmosphere. The water vapor rises into the atmosphere. It cools to form water droplets in the process known as condensation. And when these water droplets go into the atmosphere, ठीक है, जब वो एटमॉस्फेयर में जाते हैं and they just collected together, they compile together, so they make clouds, the heavy clouds. Okay, when these heavy clouds become you can say the bigger one or they become heavy, so definitely they started again the same process that we call the precipitation. जब क्या होता है, जब बादल बन जाते हैं तो वो क्या हो जाते हैं, बरसना शुरू हो जाते हैं, बारिश होना शुरू हो जाती है. एंड देन अगेन दिस वाटर साइकिल रिपीटेड अगेन एंड अगेन, एंड दिस प्रोसेस गोइंग ऑन एंड ऑन एंड ऑन. ओके, I hope this point and all the water cycle process is clear. Any confusion up till now? हम इस चीज़ को बोलते हैं वाटर साइकिल. बहुत सारे इसमें जो है वो आप पॉइंट्स ऐड भी हो जाते हैं, कुछ रिड्यूस भी हो जाते हैं. इफ यू टॉक अबाउट द कलेक्शन, सो कलेक्शन ऑफ वाटर और द ड्रॉपलेट्स बेसिकली इनटू द सी और द ओशन और द रिवर. वो पानी के जो कतरे आ रहे होते हैं आसमान से, वो कहाँ, या तो वो ज़मीन पे जाते हैं, या तो वो समंदर में जाते हैं, या तो वो आपके नॉर्मल रिवर में जाते हैं. एंड अगेन दिस प्रोसेस स्टार्ट्स अगेन थ्रू द इवेपोरेशन और थ्रू द प्रोसेस ऑफ द सनलाइट और द हीट, ठीक है. And it again goes into the atmosphere and the process condensation is starts. Okay, so for that I want to show you the video, okay, about the water cycle. So just give me a second, let me share it with you.
There has ever been on the planet. Falling is rain and snow from clouds to the Earth's surface, running in rivers, pooling in ponds, flowing from faucets, irrigating crops, traveling through plants, generating power, eventually evaporating into the air and condensing into clouds again.
Why is there life on Earth? And the reason there's life on Earth is because Earth has this perfect water cycle.
The water cycle, so simple even small children understand the basics, yet so complex the most advanced Earth scientists, hydrologists, geologists, and biogeochemists are studying every part and process.
The water cycle is fascinating. It's something that's around us all the time, and yet we don't really understand it.
How to summarize what is known about the water cycle? With two words: flows and stores. The water cycle is a series of flows of water between various water stores or storages. Clouds in the atmosphere.
There's always a little bit of water in the atmosphere. We talk about relative humidity. It's a humid day, it's a dry day. Either way, there's water, sometimes a little, sometimes a lot.
There's a lot of water in the ocean, 70% of all the water on Earth. In the ice sheets and glaciers, 2/3 of all the fresh water on Earth. In the snowpacks atop mountains like the Sierra Nevada, in the Great Lakes, in rivers and streams, in reservoirs and watersheds, in wetlands, in the soil, in and on plants and trees rooted in the soil, and beneath the soil, in water tables and underground aquifers like the Ogallala High Plains, which runs underneath parts of 8 states from South Dakota to Texas. All this storage is temporary. Water in all its forms is always in flux and always moving. And there is a name for every kind of movement in the water cycle, starting with precipitation.
Precipitation is the process of water falling onto the surface of the Earth. You can have precipitation in many forms: rain, snow, hail.
Rain is falling water in liquid form. Snow, ice, hail, and sleet are falling water in solid or frozen form. Fog and mist, falling water in gas or vapor form. Precipitation that falls directly onto the oceans becomes part of surface ocean and can be churned by wave and wind action into ocean currents. Rain and snow that falls directly on rivers and streams becomes one part of stream flow. Rain that falls onto land takes a different path to the river, as does the snow and ice that falls and collects on mountaintops when temperatures warm.
When snow melts, some of it runs through the snowpack and goes into small streams, tributaries that feed into large rivers.
What about that precipitation that falls on and over land? Some is intercepted by vegetation, plants and trees.
Like you might imagine someone in the game of football intercepting a pass. These are raindrops trying to come to the ground, and the leaves on the tree intercept them before they hit the ground.
And the precipitation that does hit the ground, it can run off if the ground is hardscape, covered with asphalt or concrete, or if the soil is too wet or saturated to absorb more water, like an over-soaked sponge. Otherwise, precipitation infiltrates the soil surface, percolates into the ground.
Think of it as the water percolating through your coffee grounds in the morning. Gravity continues to pull it downward so it will move through.
Through the topsoil, into spaces between soil and rock particles, down to bedrock and further into fractures, into deep underground aquifers. Even groundwater here is moving sideways or laterally, discharging toward a river, lake, or the sea. Generally, the deeper the flow, the slower the flow.
Some of that fractured water might take a very long time, thousands to millions of years to get out.
And how does water get back out into the atmosphere? It evaporates, is turned from a liquid into a gas or vapor by the heat of the sun.
If you put a bit of water into a bowl and you set it outside on a sunny day, it's going to disappear. It's still water, it's just in the form of a gas rather than the form of liquid.
Water evaporates from every wet surface, even from wet air. Some rain and snow evaporates into the air while falling. Water evaporates through our respiration and perspiration, and from plants through transpiration. Trans means through or across. Plant roots draw up groundwater.
And plants pull that water up through their stems into their leaves and then release it back out through evapotranspiration.
Evapotranspiration, a spelling bee-worthy term for evaporation from soil and water surfaces, plus transpiration from plants. Evaporated water molecules are tiny enough to flow into the air. Mixed with smoke and dirt particles in the atmosphere, cool, condense into visible masses of water vapor, clouds. Winds move clouds into colder air, water droplets collide and merge, grow bigger and heavier, until they are so heavy they fall again, as rain or snow, sleet or hail. Precipitation, collection, runoff, interception, infiltration, percolation, discharge, transpiration, evaporation, condensation. The water cycle.
Okay, now, so you have watched the video. Now everything is clear. Any confusion in the video? There's anything that you will have not understood yet? So you may ask. I think each and every point is has already been cleared in the video. What is the process? What are the processes? What is the water cycle?
Release water from their leaves.
ठीक है. Anyone else? Elaborate more. I can see. Yes. Collection. What is collection? Okay, from where?
From the river and in clouds.
Acha ji. Anything else? What is the process of condensation? What is the process of condensation? Sure.
It's related.
Fatma Habib.
Miss, after the process of evaporation and transpiration, Miss, there are water vapors in the sky,
In the atmosphere.
in the atmosphere, and Miss, through these
Miss,
water
miss,
vapors, clouds form, and clouds form in the process known as condensation.
Okay, Abdul Rahman Qasmi, you were
miss,
saying something.
miss, I was saying that can I come back in 2 minutes? I need to go just for 2 minutes.
2 मिनट 3 मिनट तो रह गए क्लास में खत्म होने में 50 पर हो जाएगी बैठ जाए 4 मिनट process in the paper हो सकता है मैं एक पार्ट मिस कर दूं and you need to define the whole part 2 पार्ट्स में आपको दे दूं या 2 प्रोसेस दे दूं और बोलूं कि आप 2 प्रोसेसेस के डिफाइन करें या बताएं what are these basically so be prepared for that okay so just wait for a while let me mark your attendance